welcome to 30-Minute Reviews. I am Adam. I am exhausted today. I think what I'm going to do from now on is just, rather than doing one big aggregate show, that's kind of just a clusterfuck of everything that's happened over the last week, I'm just going to do it on my evening commute, on my way home from work, or my way to wherever I'm going after work. You know, be it if I'm going to the movies, or if I'm going to the doctor, or if I'm going... Fuck, that was a fucking... Okay, anyway... I think that's probably a better way to do it, because shit happens on a regular basis, it feels like. And if we're going to sit here and aggregate it, you know, it's not going to lead to optimal discussion of topics at hand. And like yesterday, I did the discussion of Morbius, and it was good. It was like, you know, I got 20 minutes where I just, you know, talked about it and worked through it. And it sounds like I'm dealing with a trauma, but really I think the trauma would have been if I had to watch Morbius at the end of this month anyway. How is everyone out there? I guess I will start this. If you have a topic you want to see discussed, feel free to email it in, 30minutereviews@gmail.com. You can send in, if you have something you want to discuss, try to keep entertainment related, and I'll try to, you know, talk about it if I can discuss it. There is one thing that happened today that I'm not going to discuss here because it is, you know, it is on Book of Boba Fett. And trust me, when I watch the episode, because the thing is, it's like I read the news in the morning, you know, or throughout the day while I'm at work. My job is, you know, fairly mindless, so I get to, I'm on my phone, you know, a lot during the day, so I'm always looking at what's new and what's going on in the world around, and, you know, all of that, and looking at, I always get whatever show is on the air always gets spoiled for me by the time I reach watching it that evening. So, like, I have Book of Boba Fett downloaded to watch later tonight. I have not watched it yet, but what happened on last night's episode is there, and you know, it's cool. We'll talk about it tomorrow morning on Beware of Spoilers, but for right now, it's not really a topic worth going into, because I haven't seen it yet. I can't speak to it eloquently, which some might say has never stopped me from speaking before. Anyway, what did I want to talk about? We can talk about Peacemaker, which is getting pretty good reviews. I've been, you know, not hesitant to discuss Peacemaker. I feel kind of weird about Peacemaker, because, like, here's the thing about Peacemaker. It was the first of the spin-off shows that, like, I've read Bob Iger's book, the former CEO of the Walt Disney Company, and he talked about, you know, everything he did while he was CEO. Basically, anytime you read a book by a CEO while they're still CEO, it's basically a victory lap about, like, look at how great I was during my time. Or if it's not that, this is how everything that went wrong is everyone's fault but mine. Which is like, you know, it's either to assign blame away from them or to take all the credit for everything. And of course, he's going to take all the credit for everything. But what he talked about when he launched, you know, when they were getting ready to launch Disney Plus, and they were like, oh, we're going to do a streaming service. Why are we going to outsource and license our titles to Netflix when we can do it in-house and get a larger share of the money? Which makes sense. So they were like, okay, so we'll do Disney Plus, and that's what we're going to do. In an effort to incentivize creating content for Disney Plus, they had to restructure the incentives for the studio heads, you know, like Kathleen Kennedy, Kevin Feige, whoever the fuck the studio head of, you know, Walt Disney Pictures, whoever's the studio head of Walt Disney Animation, and I don't know who the studio head is of Pixar either. Well, anyway, it doesn't matter who they are, but I know Kathleen Kennedy and Kevin Feige. So he had to restructure their incentive thing, and then you end up with TV shows that are designed to get people to watch it. And you know, to say that, and they were given ample amount of time to be like, okay, so we know what's working and what's not working. Like, Star Wars has had 40, 50 years of case study of, like, this is what people like, this is what people don't like, this is what we can do a show about, this is what we won't do a show about, this is what will get people to watch, this is what won't get people to watch. So they have had plenty of time to figure out and discuss, you know, and work out what their plan was going to be. On the other side, like Marvel, you know, they've been making movies for, like, you know, 8-9 years at that point. So they were like, okay, well, people really like Loki, we can do a Loki show. You know, we can tailor what's going on with the stories that are happening around it. So if a story happens and audiences respond to it, we can tailor the show and all of that. And then, you know, so, like, if you look at, like, you know, what happened, that happened. Which is why there's a bit of a discrepancy between, like, okay, Disney Plus launches, Disney Plus has this giant back catalog of what's on it, and there is no rolling, like, okay, so, next month this won't be there. Once it's there, unless it's a pre-existing contract or something else like that that's going to inhibit that. It is on Disney Plus, it is on Disney Plus. Meanwhile, for, like, HBO Max, like, there are things that go to HBO Max and then they're going to stay there in perpetuity, like Doctor Who, which isn't exactly banked on properly. And when you go into the HBO Max app, it's not exactly, shown properly, where it's like you have to go out of your way to find it. And that could have been a big, draw for people who are fans of that show. Impractical Jokers had its exclusive home there, which, I mean, at this point, I have an HBO Max subscription, and if I'm going to use HBO Max, 8 out of 10 times it's going to be I'm watching Impractical Jokers. And if you look at, their other originals, nothing really grabs. It's like they have, and the thing is, they signed their contract with JJ after HBO Max had already launched, and it's like, oh, he's doing a development deal where he's going to do X, Y, and Z for us, and it's like, cool, whatever. And I think that one of the other things was they started greenlighting shows before anyone being audiences, had seen a stitch of footage. And it felt almost algorithmic, and I think I've said this before, where it's like, okay, people like X, Y, and Z, we're going to do X, Y, and Z. Dune is popular, Dune is, a highly anticipated movie, we can probably do a show about the Bene Gesserit, cool, we'll do that. People seem to be excited about Michael Keaton returning as Batman. We're going to do a show with the new Supergirl and him as Batman, if that's real. I don't know if that's real. People like, Gotham, the idea behind Gotham, even if not the execution of Gotham. So we're going to do Gotham Central again, but set in the world of Matt Reeves' Batman. And it's like, okay, cool, we're going to do a Peacemaker show about this one character that, prior to this movie, very few people have heard of. We're going to do a movie, but John Cena's in the lead, so it'll be entertaining, to say the least. So all of that's, happening, and it's like, well, why don't you wait and see how audiences respond? So inherently, I was kind of a little bit, weirded out by this, where it's like, at least let the audience see and let the audience dictate what they're going to be watching. Don't attempt to shove this down our throats and be like, oh no, you love it, it's fine, you like it, it's good, just enjoy it. And I think that was kind of a turn-off for me, going into, the HBO Max originals that they were working on. And the thing is, too, it's like, I was prepared to be, happily incorrect, because, I like Doom Patrol, and, Titans grew on me in the way a fungus does, and, I sat through, Titans, and most of season 1 of Titans, and then forgot about it. What else is there? So yeah, it's getting good reviews. I will happily watch it. I did not get an advanced copy of Peacemaker, unlike Naomi, which I saw last night, and I did a review of Beware of Spoilers with no spoilers. Naomi is great, and it is worth your time to watch the pilot and make a decision for yourself. And I think that it's a pilot that very early on gets all of their relationships out of the way, and then from there just moves quickly on. And it's a pretty solid pilot. And the second episode's good too. I can't talk too much. There are a few things that they say don't reveal, but there are some things that I really like. And toward the end of the episode, that is, oh my god, I'm not gonna say it. Because I could hint at it, but anyone who listens to this show would know exactly what I'm talking about. The second I say it, and I don't want to spoil it for anyone. So, when Naomi comes out next, next week, Tuesday. When it comes out, definitely check it out. It's gonna be available for free the next day on the CW app. If you don't want to watch on your basic cable. So, it's definitely going to be worth your time to watch. So, I have not seen Peacemaker yet. I'm gonna, maybe I'll see if I can angle my way into getting that. I don't know if it's as easy as it was to get the CW one, where I emailed the press lady at CW and I was like, hey, I sat through Armageddon. I liked Armageddon. Can I see Naomi? And they were like, yeah, sure. So I got to watch Naomi, but I don't know if they're gonna do the same thing at HBO Max. I'll see though. We may have a Peacemaker review sooner rather than later. What else was there? Let's talk about the Justice League rumors. Every once in a while, there'll be a rumor that kind of arises that's, kind of believable, kind of not. And this one is that they are canceling the Snyderverse. And that's the newest, dumb thing about let's backtrack for people who may not remember. So, Zack Snyder was brought in to make a Superman movie. He makes Man of Steel, which was, about 50-50 on how many people liked it. Batman v Superman came out, which I will stand by. It was not as bad as I thought it was going to be when I sat into that theater. There was a lot of Passion of the Christ symbolism, which you can hear if you go back and listen to the Beware of Spoilers that me and Peter did when it came out. You can hear us break it down, and it's like all the nonsense from Passion of the Christ for the death of Jesus, and it's like, oh, well, there's, you got the subtlety of a sledgehammer there, Zach, and then, but by and large, audiences didn't like it. There were some moments that were silly, and, he definitely thought were deeper than they were, and it's like, well, no, I understand what he's going for. It's not, not rocket science. He's not a particularly deep person. It's pretty simple to understand. It's just poorly executed. And I'm not going to relitigate that. But, so when Justice League was in development, he presented what it appears happened, because, no one's got a fucking straight answer about what actually happened. It appears that he presented a script that was 240 pages to Warner Bros. And they were like, yeah, sure, make that. And then he was unwilling to negotiate anything out of the movie. So that was kind of a problem for for them. And then he had a personal family tragedy. He stepped away from the movie. Joss Whedon stepped in to finish it. Movie bombs. Suicide Squad also bombs, and Suicide Squad was before that. But all of this happens, and the movie is what it is. And then after years of campaigning, they finally released the Snyder Cut last year. And the Snyder Cut is now out. It stands on its own. You can see where it is, and you can kind of, question why Warner Brothers wouldn't just split the movie in two. Was it Warner Brothers who wouldn't split the movie in two? Or was it Zack who was unwilling to split the movie in two? Because there's a clear partition point where you can split the movie in two and have two feature-length movies that are, both standalone on their own pretty well. But I don't think that there was communication. I think that's ultimately what part of the problem was. And then Zack stepping away and doing what he did. And then, Joss stepping in with his ego the size of a small town. And, it was just not a good situation all around that led to the failure of that movie. So, by and large, since Zack Snyder's, time, most of what he's done has kind of stayed canon. There hasn't been any sizable retcons to his, creations. Like, nothing that he has, there is no new Superman. Henry Cavill is still the DC Superman, the DCEU Superman. I mean, there's no sign of them replacing him with Tyler Hoechlin or a new actor. By and large, everything is still kind of the same. So, I don't quite understand what the, what the issue is, where it's like, we want to make it canon. It's like, well, it is canon. Like, what, do you want Zack to make the movies? Oh, fuck me, there's an accident. You want Zack to make the movies that he was going to set out and originally make? Because it appears that Zack has no interest in doing that. And it's like, I that's one of the things I don't like, and Ben doesn't either. Like, Ben wants little to nothing to do with the DCEU at this point, it appears. He's like, I'm done with franchise movies, I'm not doing this anymore, and I think he has a right to that after, what happened to him on all sides from Justice League and Batman v Superman, where he just got, from the moment he was announced, just constantly just berated by everyone, like the press, the fans. No one was happy with the casting, it appeared. It was just a mess all around. And I think he has a right to be like, hey, we're not, holy shit. He has a right to be like, I'm not doing this anymore. Why is the highway not closed? So anyway, he has a right to be like, I'm not doing that anymore. And Zack, being in his position, granted, Zack did, fan the flames of this for a long time. Like, I'm sorry, I just got off the highway, and I'm looking, and there's police activity on the bridge, and I'm on the overpass, and I'm like, oh, something happened, and I look, and there's a car teetering over the overpass. Like, not teetering in a way that it's easy to get off. It is teetering, like, on its side. Like, horizontally on its side, not vertically, where it's, like, the nose of the car is tipping down. It is, like, horizontally, where, like, the left, like, the passenger side of the car is leaning off of the bridge. It, like, over this fence, off the overpass, hanging over the expressway. And they are draining gas out of this car. And I'm like, why is the expressway not closed underneath this? What the fuck? Anyway, so Zack does his thing, and he kind of, stokes the whole thing, but they said it's a storytelling cul-de-sac, we're not going to do, we're not going to continue the story into part 2, or of what Zack was going to do with the Justice League. We're just going to finish it off here, we're going to let him tell his story and be done with it, and Zack seems to be okay with that. Granted, Zack does his Zack thing where he's like, hey, I worked on Justice League, you remember that movie? I did the version of Superman that you like for some reason, and I don't know, I feel like it was I really gotta get a better app for this, because the levels look all fucked up, and I can never tell if it's recording properly. Anyway, I'm like, so all of that's happening. Now, the latest rumor is that everything's being thrown out after the Flash movie, where they are getting rid of, there's going to be no more Justice League, there's going to be no more, all of the Snyder characters are thrown out. The new Justice League is going to be led by the new Supergirl and the new Batgirl, played by Leslie Grace in the upcoming movie on HBO Max, and the Flash is going to be in there, and nothing else will be back. Now, herein lies my big problem with this idea. Number one, there are multiple movies and Shazam's going to be there too, in the new Justice League. Now, number one, they're not getting rid of Gal Gadot. There is no way in hell that Warner Brothers is going to be the party that severs that relationship. They're not going to be like, hey, person who makes us a couple $100 million a movie, close to $1 billion a movie with Wonder Woman. Hey, do you want to leave? We don't need you anymore. We are going to find someone else to do that for us. And Gal Gadot is kind of a household name at this point. So it's just stupid. It's just stupid all around that they would do that, number one. Number two, they're not going to get rid of Jason Momoa, who has a solo movie coming out the year after. Not even the year after, the month after. Literally, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom comes out a month, almost to the day, after The Flash. Because The Flash comes out November 4th, a week later is Black Panther 2, then a month after that is Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. So they are not getting rid of him either. Black Adam has a movie earlier this year as well. Black Adam is going to be tied into Shazam. And while Shazam is in the rumor, Black Adam is, Henry Cavill has been in talks, according to various sources, to reprise his role to face off against Black Adam in that movie. And the other thing is, Gal Gadot is also rumored to be in Shazam! Fury of the Gods, which makes sense because, if you're going to do a movie with Greek gods like Calypso and all of these characters, I thought it was the Fates at first, but now they're doing Greek gods. And if you're doing this, then it would make sense that Wonder Woman is involved in some way, even if it is a small role. Like you know how you look at, like, Spider-Man and Doctor Strange is there for, like, you know, maybe, like, 20 minutes of screen time, maybe a half hour, if that, in the entire movie. Like, that's kind of, you know, what role I would expect Wonder Woman to have in this movie. And it'd be weird if she wasn't there. And that's the kind of thing, like, when you look at this, like, like, you know, it's kind of that weird, you know, thing where it's like, hey, it is a rumor designed to get people upset and get people to click on an article, and not, like, you know, not like, what's it called, and not do, like, stupid, what the fuck? I wonder if it's, like, you know, a personality trait to have, like, a million stickers on your car about how much you hate Joe Biden. Like, alright, whatever. It just kind of feels silly to me that it is something that is worth, you know, saying, where it's like, you know, it's obviously not true. Because if it was true, then why would they be doing that? Like, okay, Ben's out. Yes, that's true. Ben is out. And yes, Michael Keaton is going to be taking the place, because Michael Keaton is reprising in Batgirl, and it seems like if I were to do it seems like they're doing Batgirl as kind of a Batman Beyond type story, but I think that means that, and the thing is too, it's like J.K. Simmons is reprising in that movie too, and I think that what they could do, and I feel like a lot of this is course correcting to try and reestablish the universe they wanted to establish out of the gate. Like, I think if they hadn't cast Ben Affleck, what they could have done is cast Michael Keaton out of the gate, and that would have solved the problem. But I think Michael Keaton had only recently opened up to returning to playing these roles. He's doing, like, a fucking Morbius cameo. I don't know. It feels kind of weird to me that, like, you know, if it's the case, and it's a big if, that they're going to do this, there are so many other things that would need to happen, and it also doesn't make sense that they would go and introduce they wouldn't introduce, they wouldn't introduce Batgirl that way, especially when her movie is going to be an origin movie. I think it's based on the New 52 origin story. I know that she has an iconic story where she faces off against Firefly, and Brendan Fraser's in the movie playing Firefly. So I mean, looking at this for what it is, it doesn't make sense to me that they would be going to this length to do that, and then they're going to do a prequel for Batgirl to bring her into the fold, and it feels kind of weird, because it's like, if it's like all of us, like, that's the thing about these team-ups, is that, you know, you can't just assume that these people all know each other, and it's like, because they know each other in the comics, it works. Like, I think that there's a way in which to do this where it makes sense, and the thing is, too, it's like, there's so many other things that aren't getting thrown out, like, you know, Peacemaker is Snyderverse, because that's the thing, it's like, the Snyderverse is, and always will be at this point, because Peacemaker is spun out of Suicide Squad, which is spun out of the first Suicide Squad, which is spun out of Birds of Prey, which is spun out of the first Suicide Squad, which, you know, Ben Affleck is in. He is the Batman in that movie, who catches the Joker and Harley Quinn, and catches Deadshot, and you know, the Flash from Justice League is there. It's not, and the Captain Boomerang is the one who fought that Flash. It's not the Captain Boomerang from fucking Brave and the Bold, whatever the hell the crossover was, on Arrow in Season 1 of The Flash, Season 3 of Arrow. It's not that Captain Boomerang, it's Jai Courtney. And it's like, that's there. Like, Batgirl is Commissioner Gordon's daughter, and it's not the Commissioner Gordon of Batman, Matt Reeves, it's the Commissioner Gordon from Justice League, that J.K. Simmons played, and J.K. Simmons is reprising. So it's like, it is becoming where it's like, the Snyderverse has kind of, oddly enough, become a weird lightning rod, it seems, for people who are, like, anti-PC almost, it feels, where it's like, you know, we don't want, like, we don't want Batgirl there, but it's like, well, it appears as if she's almost Batman Beyond at this point. Like, you know, there are so many things here that are just weird about this story that it is just entirely untrue. And it's one of those things where, like, you read the rumor and it's like, oh, you know, I would watch that. Like, that was my first thought, was like, oh, that would be cool, I would watch that. But at the same time, it's like, well, nothing in production indicates that's the case. Because it's not like they're being subtle about what their plans are going, like, 2-3 years out. Like, we know what they're planning and what they're working on. We know that, like, Blue Beetle is coming out in 2023. We know that, like, you know, they're doing Batgirl. We know we know that Harley Quinn's coming back. That's a fucking cash cow of a franchise. Like, there are so many things here that, like, don't make sense, and what people who perpetrate these rumors hope for is that you read it, you don't think about it, and you go like, oh, yeah, okay, that tracks. And it's like, well, if you think about it for 3 seconds, it doesn't make sense. And that's why a lot of these things kind of fall apart and never actually end up happening. Where it's like, you know, Henry Cavill will be back to play Superman at some point. I don't believe that he's never going to play Superman again. Because he loves that character dearly. And it would be weird if it was like, you know, if he never did it again. And if he never does it again, it won't be his choice. It would be Warner Brothers' choice. It's obvious the guy wants to play the character. So we'll wrap up there for today. We'll be back probably tomorrow with anything else that happens. So until then, have a great rest of your week.